are talking about some real life stuff today on this week's episode. I did come into today with well laid plans, a hot social media topic that I wanted to talk about. And then my morning got a little off kilter. And, I was like, well, this is something great to talk about on the podcast because as a fellow business owner, when shit happens, you got to sometimes shift, change gears, and you've got to be able to handle what comes your way with ease and grace and time and space, my favorite thing for this year, my way of living and being this year. So today's topic or title is Some Days You Just Go With It. And I say that because, every business should have the strategy, should have the plan, should have all the tasks mapped out with the deadlines, and everything should just be happening day after day after day. Well, as we all know, life happens, business happens, stuff happens. And so you have to be prepared for it as best you can. And one of the best things that I think really is usable or helpful in this situation is being able to take a moment to relax and breathe and then just go with it. Let yourself figure out in the moment the best way forward that isn't going to stress you out too much, kill you, go crazy, all those different things. Contact your team, communicate what's going on with your team, make sure people involved are aware of your schedule and aware that, like for me today, I had an appointment outside of the house. I had to take the car to the shop and I had to do it really early, which is not my favorite thing to do because while I'm a morning person, I'm not an early morning person. So I got up, I got dressed. I did all the things that I got to do in the morning pretty quickly. Took care of the dog, and then I jumped in the car and I went and I dropped the car off at the shop. And then I kind of struggled to get a ride home because I was, trusting on Lyft and Uber. And apparently Lyft was overly busy this morning or something. So I had to go to Uber and get an Uber. And it delayed me a little bit, but I didn't sweat it. I was just like, hey, this is a perfect thing to talk about on the podcast when I do get home. And if I don't get the podcast started right at 9 a.m., it's not going to kill me. And that's the thing. If it doesn't happen exactly as planned, if things come up that waylay you and get you off track, you got to kind of just go with it. So here's the thing, to be able to do that, you have to have a few things in place. And one of those things is make sure somebody, your assistant, your team, is aware of your schedule and they have the means to communicate with the people involved in your day. Also, number two, document your processes, because if your processes are documented into SOPs, anybody can step in to do anything, including the stuff you do as a CEO for the most part. Now, clearly, your team is not going to step in and have a coaching call if you're a coach. They're not going to come in and create legal documents if they're not a paralegal or, your legal assistant who is trained and all of those things. There are things that can't be done, but at the very least, your team can contact the people involved and say, hey, something's come up. We've got a situation here, and we're working on it as soon as possible, because that too is a process. So you need a process for when stuff goes awry and goes off kilter so that you can sit back and relax and breathe and go, okay, what's next? How do I move forward from here to get back on track as soon as possible? Three, kind of said this already, communicate with your assistant and your team and anybody else involved. I mean, it could be even your family, your spouse, whatever, because, if you're surrounded by family and friends and can get some help in that area too, make sure you're communicating with everyone and saying, hey, guess what? This came up. Can you help me out? And, kind of sort of have a list either on your phone, in your head, of backup people you can call to make sure word gets out that stuff has come up. You're going to be delayed, that kind of a thing. Next, do what you can with what you have. So for me today, I didn't get up and get fully ready to go drop my car off at the shop. I didn't do my hair. I didn't do all my makeup. I did the bare minimum so that I look presentable to go out in public and drop off my car and meet people and see people. And because I was delayed coming home, I didn't really have the time to go finish getting ready, to put on all the makeup, to fix my hair. And, I said, screw it. I am who I am. Some days I'm just not going to show up with all the bells and whistles, the hair, the makeup, all those things. And so, I'm going with what I have. I did put on a little bit of foundation this morning. I did make myself look presentable. Do have a little ponytail up, just so I'm presentable. So, and presentable by my judgment, and I'm not even judging myself. It's like, I am comfortable and happy showing up like this. As long as I'm comfortable with how I look and how I show up, that's all that matters. So, I went with what I had. Could I have rushed into the bathroom and tried to throw on makeup really fast and then come in here to the office and prepare for this podcast episode? Sure. But would this podcast be as well thought out and as well done if I had come into it that stressed and that frazzled, going, oh my God, I had to throw on my makeup last minute, and I'm just, I'm putting all this information together to be able to talk about something in the moment. And it would have been a much different vibe to this podcast for sure. And it probably would have been less impactful. So, go with what you have. If you can't get your full face on, it's okay. It will be okay. I mean, I could have actually rushed all that makeup stuff and ended up poking myself in the eye. And then where would I be it to do this live and to do this podcast stuff? So, it's okay to go with what you have. And then last, which is actually technically first, relax. Relax as soon as the moment hits. Relax through it, breathe, and keep your thoughts and your actions. Don't react if at all possible, because reaction is where the shit that happens can turn into a big storm that makes it worse, instead of getting your head clear, getting calm and focused so you can revisit that plan you had today and revise it and communicate with people and work on making the most of it. So there you have it. About 5 things you need to have in place, and be ready to do. And, like relaxing when something stressful hits takes practice. So, that's one thing you always got to be aware. So, relax, awareness is key too during all this. So hang in there. It's going to be fine. Shit happens, but you'll be okay. It will work out for the best in the end, whether that's the short term or the long term. But have faith, stay focused, stay on course as best you can, and make sure you got a team, processes, and a way to communicate with people, even if it's not the usual people like on your team or something. If you've got to go kind of into right field or left field and go call the spouse, or go call, your friend that you haven't talked to in 3 months for whatever reason, because sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And that is the point of today's episode, is just go with it, do what you got to do, but don't do it in a total panic, a total stress, and make your complete outlook and your complete day seem like just this big monster. Do what you can to step back and breathe and follow this process, follow your processes of what to do when life happens and gets in the way of your business, or vice versa. Business happens and it gets in the way of life, because you could be on vacation and business happens. And while you want to stay on vacation and stay unplugged, make sure you are in a headspace and you have processes and plans in place to be able to deal with it, so that even if you're on vacation having a life and business happens, you and your team can work through it quickly and easily, and you can go back to being on vacation and enjoying it and having fun and all of those things, with ease and grace and time and space. And that's a wrap for today. I thank you all for stopping by and listening. Be sure, if you haven't already subscribed, to subscribe. Check out our website and learn more about our all-in-one plug-and-play team for all things marketing, operations, and implementation. We're here to help you, support you to grow that business from where you are to where you want to be, with ease and grace and time and space. Have a great day. I'll see you next week.